video content is important. I mean, just good content is important. But most important for content, it's having those pieces in place. It's A/B testing. So you may produce a piece of content that you think is great, and then you put it out there and it flops. So you're always testing this piece of content versus this content, this versus that. So a lot of times it's just changing a couple of words or it's changing an image.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Build to Win podcast, where we talk about tools and tech for the smart contractor. I am your co-host, Jonathan Weinberg, founder and CEO of Builder Prime, the all-in-one business management platform for home improvement contractors. And I'm here with my co-host, John Kolbasta, owner and visionary for Windows and Doors by the Men with Tools. All right. So excited to talk with everybody today about getting to that next level. So we've talked about the various levels so far, going from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 5. Today, we're going to talk about going from 5 million to 8 million in revenue. And we may go a little bit over that, maybe talk a little bit about, up to around the $10 million range as well. But excited to jump in and talk to everybody about this next milestone in the business.
Excellent. Yeah, that's interestingly enough, the other 3 episodes there, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 5. That's in the past for me. That's past experience. So I may be a little fuzzy on those details. But right now, I'm currently sitting at an $8 million company this year. So we're probably going to do between 8 and 10 this year. So the information that we'll share with you here today is current. So like I said, it'll be much easier for me to recall the details and talk about what we're doing today versus in the past.
Yeah, and I think we're going to focus a good bit more on the org chart today. So maybe that's where we can start, how the org chart evolves as you're growing to that next level. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, John, to start out? Like what are some of the positions that you're hiring? What are some of the structures that you're putting in place? I know we're going to talk a little bit about EOS, but talk a little bit about the changes that you made.
The reason we want to talk about the org chart today is because I think at this next level, that 5 million and beyond, where the previous level at 2 to 5 million, you're learning really to become a sales and marketing organization. But to go beyond that, you have to really start focusing on people, good people, right? Putting the right butts in the right seats on the bus. So that's why we're going to talk about the current org chart. It really does come down to grow beyond 5 to 10 to 50 to 100. At least the people that I speak to that are at that level currently, it's what they always say. It's the people that they attract, they hire, they retain, it's training, it's developing the current staff. So that's why we're starting here. So right now, what does my current org chart look like? I have an executive team, right, sitting at a level right below me. I like to think of them as partners, but I have a sales director, a marketing director, and an operations director. So let's start in the marketing department. I have Tom as my marketing director. Underneath him, we have our call center manager, and we have a call center staff. We also have a digital marketing manager that sits below Tom, that Tom manages and works with every single day, collaborates with every single day. That person is managing our digital ads online every single day, pausing ads that aren't working, increasing the budget for the ads that are, Google AdWords, LSA, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever we're advertising digitally on the internet, where we're paying for advertising, he is managing and he's working directly with Tom. We also have an SEO person that works directly with Tom too. So building out organic content, landing pages on our website, regular organic posts on all of our social media, going around collecting photos of jobs and stuff like that, customer testimonial stuff that we can use in our marketing. And that right there is the marketing department. That's what our current marketing department looks like at this moment. I mean, we do have 6 call center agents. We are currently also, I forgot someone else, we are bringing in a retail and events division. So we've hired Jack back to be our events and retail manager. And right now he's building out a team. So on the weekends, while the weather is still nice here in New York, we're going to fairs and festivals and, we'll go to home shows, indoor home shows in the winter, but we're also looking to post up at a few retail partners. So where we're looking at like any high traffic locations, hardware stores, grocery stores, possibly a mall, anywhere there's foot traffic, high foot traffic within our market where we can talk to people about using our services. So that right now is the extent of our marketing department. On the sales side, Brandon, who's my director, he has a full-time sales trainer that works with us. So, because we're running a class every single month of 5 to 10 people, depending on how many we can recruit. And we're recruiting for all of these departments. We have an outside recruiter that we've hired. So he has a full-time sales trainer. That sales trainer's job is to run the new class through a 4-week training period, get them updated and familiar with our selling system, and then get them out there. We also have what we call squad leaders. They're supervisors. So they're responsible for running a small team within a team. So anywhere from 4 to 5 people, right? So they're kind of like supervisors, but they get bonused at the end of the month, but they're managing a group. And then right now we have 11 sales reps. On the operations side, Arlix, who's our operations manager, he's got the largest department. He has what we call a customer concierge department. So we have a customer concierge manager where that person takes the customer from post sale, right? So the moment the job is sold to installation, completion of install, right? So once the job is sold, it gets passed into our customer concierge department. And then that person becomes the liaison for the customer, right? So schedules the measure, orders the materials, answers any questions, handles any change orders or anything like that, schedules the install, double checks on everything complete. And we also have a service manager for any of the services that come through with a service department. Right now we have 2 service techs. We also have a installation manager who manages the measures, right? So he teaches and manages the measure technician. Right now we have 2 of those, and we have 11 full-time installers and 5 trucks. That is the current org chart, complete from top to bottom. I'm just making sure that I'm not missing any departments because again, it's evolving. It's always changing, right? As you're growing, you're adding new things.
I'm just counting up all those roles that I used to do.
Yes.
I think I did all of them.
I was always busting your chops about that, right? Hey, John, you need to hire people and you need to start delegating and stuff like that. Yes.
Well, I'm thinking for you. Like I was doing that for Windows and Doors by Men with Tools.
Oh, well, yeah. What was that? The 0 to 1, 1 to 2.
Yeah.
You were during those 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
That part of the story.
You were the customer concierge, right? You handled all the client phone calls. You were the call center manager. You booked the leads. Customer concierge, service department. Yeah, you were doing all of that, right?
Yeah. I like that concierge manager though. That's the customer concierge. That's legit.
That's something. Again, I didn't come up with this, right? This is just me going out there, being in the industry, going to events, meeting people. My team and I, in June of this past year, we took a trip to Wisconsin because we're part of the Brian Gottlieb's mastermind group, which is incredible, by the way. And we got to see the RBA location in Appleton, Wisconsin. So we got to spend the whole day there. We toured the facility. We got to talk to his executive staff, which is much larger than ours, because I believe, and don't quote me on it, but I believe they're around $100 million company. So their org chart looks much larger than ours.
Yeah, and just for everybody's, just in case anyone's not familiar with RBA, it's Renewal by Andersen.
Renewal by Andersen, yes. And the one thing that I noticed was they had this concierge department, right? So they had a department to handle the customer from post-sale all the way through completion. We had done that, but it was, on the back of 2 or 3 people. There was really no process developed for it. So, it's eye-opening. Sometimes it just takes getting out and going into another person's business and see how they do things. And we came back with that. That's one of the things we came back with, and we implemented that within 30 days. And, it's helped improve our customer relationships, repeat referral, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's huge. And it's just to have these events that you can go to have mentors and a network that you can lean on for how to do these things, right? So a lot of people have done it before and you can learn a lot from them. That's, same for me. I mean, I originally went through a Tiny Seed program, which was a startup accelerator, and just learned a lot of I learned a lot of the lessons about how to scale to that next level. When we raised our Series A, same thing. It's like they come with a little bit of a playbook or a blueprint to, here's how you scale up, this type of a company. And same thing for home improvement, right? These events are just so valuable. Masterminds, networks, these are just so valuable for, learning these strategies and tactics and everything to help grow.
It's why people buy franchises, right? Because it's a business in a box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have the plan to scale to whatever point. I chose to go outside of the franchise model, so I've had to put this all together myself. But again, I've pulled little pieces. I mean, I don't think I've come up with anything groundbreaking, or I don't think I invented anything within this industry. I've just borrowed the ideas that I've liked from other companies, and I've implemented them into my company. Right? It's helped us scale. Right, but again, that's why it's important to get out, meet new people, go to the events, listen to the speakers, read, right? Listen to podcasts like this, because you can get a golden nugget from anywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that can seriously change your business.
Yeah. One thing that you were talking about when you're talking about the marketing org, and have people you have people that work on the digital ads and are constantly tuning that every day and looking at performance. I'm sure a lot of people are doing that type of thing through agencies. I think you probably did that through agencies at some point, right?
Yeah.
At what point did you decide, like, no, that's something that we should bring in house and do ourselves?
Look, I mean, I know of quite a few companies that are doing $50, $100 million that are still working with agencies, right? So there is no right way or wrong way, right? It's just when I started this business, right? I did the marketing, right? So I have a pretty good understanding of marketing mechanics and stuff like that, and tips and techniques and strategies and stuff like that. And then I happen to get really lucky and hire a really good digital marketing manager, Tom, who is now my marketing director, right? So I have good talent in house. So already between him and I like having it here. I like being able to, go to the cubicle and have a discussion, right? Outside of our normal meetings, not having to book an appointment or meet somebody every Monday. I find it to be more convenient. But like I said, I know of companies that are doing $50, $100 million where they've got a marketing director that's just managing a bunch of agencies, right? Or a bunch of lead partners, right? Where they're buying leads from. So, and believe me, Tom, my marketing director, is doing that, right? So like he schedules meetings with our print advertising partners, our radio advertising partners, lead aggregators, right? He's sharing data with them. He's managing those people. Where he's also managing our marketing director. I'm sorry, a digital marketing manager. He's monitoring his daily activity as far as the cost per demo, cost per lead issue, and stuff like that. But he has access to them right there, so he can see changes. Same thing with our SEO guy. I just find it to be more convenient to take it in house.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is a big challenge as you're scaling up this type of activity is the content, right? So it could be, when I talk about content, it could be something as simple as a headline for a Google ad, to content for a blog post, to producing audio and video, whether that's audio for radio, video for television. I know you've got a studio right in the office where you do a lot of that video content. But maybe talk a little about how you kind of scale that part of the operation, to be able to produce that kind, especially like on the video side, because that's so much of what's effective these days, in terms of creating, producing, and delivering, that content within the overall marketing strategy. I mean, that's something that you've got to be able to get pretty good at as you're getting to that next level, going from 5 to 8 million, right?
You do, yeah. Video content is important. I mean, just good content is important, right? Again, I got lucky. Tom has a background in videography. He's extremely creative, so he can cut and edit videos. He knows graphic design. He kind of still handles some of that, but we do outsource that. So we have a couple of video guys that we've developed relationships with through Fiverr or Upwork that when we need something edited, we send it out, we pay for it, and it's fairly inexpensive. It's like $100 to cut a video. But most important for content, it's having those pieces in place. It's A/B testing, right? So you may produce a piece of content that you think is great, and then you put it out there and it flops. So you're always testing, this piece of content versus this content, this versus that. So a lot of times it's just changing a couple of words or it's changing an image. It's just, you'd be surprised. So that's what our digital marketing manager does. So we give them the content. Tom and I will go into a discussion weekly. We'll plan the next month's content. We'll plan the videos that I'm going to record, a date and stuff. We'll have scripts. But ultimately, we give all of our finished products, a couple of different versions, to our digital marketing manager. And he'll put them up and he'll test them A versus B, sometimes, A, B, C. I mean, but we're always testing. And he'll put the budget behind which works best.
What about getting into grocery stores or or Costco or something like that, which is difficult, right? But what about getting into some of those places from a marketing perspective? Or do you consider that to be more on the events side of things, or do you consider that more in the marketing realm? And what are you doing from that perspective?
Well, it's a part of the marketing department, right? So we call it events in retail because it's the same thing. Whether you're posting up in a retail location or an event, you're going to go there, you're going to put a table out, a tablecloth, some signage, some samples, and you're just going to talk to everybody that walks by and you're going to try to generate leads, right? So, how do you get into a Costco, like a retail location? Some of these well-known retail or wholesale clubs. There are businesses that you have to work with to be able to become part of that program. There is a cost, a percentage base. I think usually anywhere from 10 to 15% that you're paying to those partners. And then you have to staff it and generate the leads. So it can be an expensive, the lead cost can be very expensive, right? But again, I know people that make it work. I know a bunch of people that have tried it and backed out of it. I had in the past. I didn't like the lead cost. And again, it's your overall marketing mix, right? So like if that cost you 20%, but everything else cost you 8%, right? It might be within where you've budgeted your marketing budget. And then beyond that, there's a lifetime value, right? You just don't look at the initial cost of the lead. You look at, well, let's look at this lead source and does it repeat? Does it refer? Sometimes those lead sources that are expensive on the front end, if you really, really look at it over time, there are lead sources that are more likely to repeat and refer. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. You'd never think that. So it does pay to absorb the higher marketing cost on the front end, in some cases, and bring them into your organization and remarket to them. And like I said, that cost per lead significantly goes down, right? Mm-hmm. So again, events, retail, posting up, I choose to do it outside of those partner programs because for me, it wasn't a lead source that was likely to repeat and refer. I know people that claim it is, That's why you should always test something for 90 days. So at least you have data, right? Any lead source, any marketing lead source, because you do want to see if it's going to repeat or refer, right? You want to have them go through the cycle, see what it looks like on the back end. So I have that data. So we've chosen to go to events that we just pay for. There's no partnership with another organization that's acting as a middleman. There are some local supermarkets and hardware stores that you can post up where you can work out a deal with them. There's obviously the malls, that are still hanging on by a thread where they have some foot traffic. Our local mall, the demographics not really our ideal client, so we're looking. But like I said, we choose to go outside so that we could just pay a fee, like to lease a space or something like that, and it's within our appetite. We're looking for a certain cost of marketing, and we've been able to identify a few places. But again, we're working on this right now. We're implementing this into our marketing department because we're looking to expand. Right? It's another lead source that we feel that could become a significant source of growth for us. Right? If we do it right, we think we have the right person in place. Who can build a team, and we can really lean into it as a valuable lead source in the future going into next year.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Samantha McGinnis from Enabled Consulting?
I'm not.
Heard her before? So I was first introduced to her at one of the CCN events, the Certified Contractors Network. We actually recently did a webinar. It was a joint webinar, she and I. But she specializes in the face-to-face events, the face-to-face marketing. The different things that she talks about, it can be really powerful, right? I mean, it can be a really powerful source of leads, and it can be predictable. I mean, every week you're going to these different events, even ones that you wouldn't necessarily think of. But she can talk about that stuff much better than I can. We've got I believe we got the webinar posted up on the builderprime.com site if anyone wants to check that out. But some really interesting things that she talked about in that webinar as well from a retail and events perspective.
You also have Tony Hody, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, that's one of the OGs there.
Yeah, he's the guy, right, within the industry. I mean, if you want to learn how to canvas and knock doors or go to shows and events and generate leads, he's been doing it. He's been doing it. He's just not been teaching it. He's done it. He's still doing it for, I believe, Tony, if you hear this, I hope I don't insult you, like 30 years, Look, I'm 30 years in the business now too. So it's amazing how quickly time flies, but he's been doing it a long time. He's phenomenal. I don't want this to just become a marketing discussion, but it is important. I subscribe to, I heard a wonderful person named Dawn Dewey speak at the Top 500 event, like 2 years ago, I believe it was, and she introduced this principle. And it's, when you really think about it, it's like, wow, it makes common sense. But she called it the testing, investing, and resting strategy for your marketing person, whoever's running it, right? So what the premise of that is, she basically says is, you should obviously figure out what your marketing budget is every single month, how much you're going to spend, right? Because we're investing, right? And what you want to do is you want to look at your lead sources, because your marketing director or whoever's managing your marketing is looking at your cost of marketing and managing those lead sources, right? And testing means what she says is you want to take 10 to 15% of your marketing budget every single month. So let's just say you have a $100,000 marketing budget this month. You're going to take $10,000 to $15,000 of it. You're going to test new lead sources, right? New lead sources, not the current lead sources that you're currently working with, right? Because the way to grow through marketing is to add good, reliable lead sources, right? Because you can only spend so much on Google. You can only spend so much on Facebook. You can only spend so much on the shared mail, the direct mail, right? So you've got to constantly be looking and testing for new lead sources. So you test those for 90 days, right? And if at any point they produce after 90 days, if you can get them to produce within your cost of marketing that you're targeting, then you put them into the investing bucket. So they go into the reliable lead sources, and you invest the other 85 to 90% in those lead sources, but you're still managing them, right? And those ones that don't hit the cost of marketing in the testing bucket or even in the investing bucket, you put them into resting, right? It means you're no longer spending money. You never burn a bridge, because you'd be surprised. We've learned this lesson with a few of the shared mail companies, where you can invest, have them in the investing bucket for 9 months and they produce incredible. But then there's other months where they just completely useless. The cost of marketing is 10x what it would normally be. So you never burn the bridge. So it's testing. You're testing for new lead sources. You're investing in the good, reliable ones, and then you're resting the ones that don't. And when you rest them, your marketing person within your company should always have a contact for each lead source, right? And they want to speak to them at least weekly about where they are, and they want to set the expectations like, hey, I'm bringing you on. This is what I'm looking for a cost of marketing. This is where we need to be in order for me to reliably invest money within your company. So they set the expectations. They sit down with them and they say, these are, this is the results we got last week. Here's where we are right now. We're on track. If we're off track, then you put it in their hands and you'd say, hey, let's use a lead aggregator as an example, right? I don't know if it's an industry secret, but some people I know don't know. When I tell them this, it surprises them. They buy their leads from a lot of these guys that will advertise like affiliate marketers on social media sites, even AdWords. So these guys got all these crazy techniques for getting a customer to submit their name, address, and telephone number, and they sell it to, let's say, like an Angie's List or Home Advisor, even though they're the same company, or Quinn Street. And then they take that, they purchase it, and then they resell it to me and 3 or 5 other contractors, right? But if you have a person that's working with a rep that's working with Quinn Street, your marketing director can say, okay, I bought 100 leads from you last week at this cost, and it's not working. My cost of marketing here is 30%. And then what you can do is you can share the data that build the prime stores, right? Lead source and the results. You can then share that data, the customer data, with your rep. And then they can take it and they can see where the lead sources are coming from, who they're buying those leads from, and they can turn them off, right? They can bring you new lead sources or new partners. And you'd be surprised how often you'll tell them, hey, we're off track, right? This wasn't a great investment for us. Here's the results. Here's the customer. They take it, come back to you within a couple of days, and then magically your cost of marketing gets within line, right? So you need to be managing these partners, like I said, a weekly, even a daily basis, right? But this is the job of a marketing director, right? It's a full-time job. When you're at that 5 million and beyond, it's a lot of work, right? You can't do this and run the production team and the sales team. You can't do all of this, right?
Yeah. So maybe now's a good time we start to talk a little bit about EOS, right? EOS is entrepreneurial operating system. And really what it is, it's a set of tools and frameworks for scaling a company. So as you start to reach a certain scale, it's about, there's certain principles that you need in order to be able to effectively run and scale that organization. EOS is one framework. I think another one that is gaining traction. Traction is a weird word to use for that, because that's the main book that teaches the foundations of EOS. But is it Scale Up or something like that? Something like that. But there's a couple different frameworks out there. But EOS, I know, has gained a lot of popularity, especially within the home improvement space, and I mean, just in general, it's gained a lot of popularity, but I come across more and more home improvement companies that are implementing or have implemented EOS for their businesses. And actually, I know you've done it for yours, John, and we're in the process of doing it for ours as well, right? For a B2B software company. So it's, I think, a really effective set of practices that really help to make sure, like you mentioned it before, right butts in the right seats, right? That's one of the big things that's preached. It's making sure that you've got the right set of accountability set up from the beginning and there's alignment on that. Like alignment is a big thing across, your leadership team or your executive team. Make sure everyone's in alignment and everyone understands what they're accountable for and what they're doing every day. There's the L10 meeting, level 10 meetings, that is really important in terms of identifying issues, discussing issues, solving issues. It's when you think about it from a high level, it's pretty basic and simple, but you put all these things together, it gives you a framework to have effective communication and alignment across the organization to be able to achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve. So I thought, that's something that you and I can talk a little bit about as far as, what it's been like so far within our companies. But that's, especially for, on the home improvement side, as you're approaching that, maybe even before the 5 million range, that 5 million number, but certainly as you're approaching it, you're probably feeling like you're losing control of things, right? I mean, there's just, it's hard to control everything. You're trying to do too many different things. Like you said, you need a full-time marketing director. You can't be doing the marketing and the operations, and you can't be doing all of these things as the owner by yourself anymore. And you need to make sure that you've got those right people with the right accountability set up and everyone's on the same page, all the time. And that's one of the things that, EOS helps with. It gives you those tools and best practices and frameworks for ensuring that. That's what I've really liked. That's really what's resonated, with me as we've grown quite significantly, over the last year and a half, especially, is just being able to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're all in alignment. We're all working towards the same things, right? And rocks is another big piece of that, right? Rocks are, every quarter you're meeting with the leadership team and you're setting your rocks, what you're trying to achieve for the quarter. And you're always checking in. Are we on track? Are we off track? Everyone's on the same page on what we need to accomplish, this quarter. And we're all working towards those same common goals. So I think EOS is a really powerful set of tools and processes to be able to effectively scale an organization. We're just at the very beginning of it, really. Like we've rolled this out within our leadership team. All the members on my leadership team have set up their company rocks, or their department rocks, and working with their teams on those department rocks. But we still haven't fully executed, fully rolled out everything with EOS just yet. But we're working on that. So probably by next quarter, we're going to have that pretty much fully rolled out. What's your experience been with that, John? Have you noticed that it's been helpful in those ways, as you've scaled up the company?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that you just mentioned. We had started working. We were introduced to EOS through Brian Kaskavalsian's mastermind group there. The contractor what's it called? The Success Society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. A few years ago, I joined the group, and I was one of 12 companies at the time, and I was the only company not using EOS. And so, they're talking about EOS, and I'm like, okay, I guess, I got to jump on board here so that I can understand the lingo. But that was right around the $5 million mark. And it's exactly what you said, right? I mean, look, when you are going to become a people development company, right? When you're going to start hiring a higher level team to take some of these tasks from you, as I believe one of the first things you do with EOS is you set up the org chart, right? So
the accountability chart, yeah.
The accountability chart, right? So you have to start to give some of these positions away, right? So it's like marketing, sales, production, finance. Like you can't be doing all of those things, right? If you are at that moment when you start EOS, I believe it's your job to start finding people to replace you, right? So the point I'm making is once you have a higher level team that starts to take some of these higher level tasks and have departments, you got to hold that group of people accountable to a certain KPI, and then they have to manage their employees underneath them, right? So it really is just it's setting the goal, right? It's coming up with I mean, you typically do that annually, but you work your plan, right? And you set your KPIs, you set certain rocks. Every year we're about to do this for next year. We sit down, we have a spreadsheet where we plug in our numbers, what we want to do based off of a certain amount of growth, and we reverse engineer the numbers, right? Leads, issued appointments, demos, sales, installs, right? We break it down and what the staff will look like, right? Because if you're going to grow 30% in one year, you're going to need more people in the call center. If you have a call center, you're going to need more sales. You're going to have to increase your marketing budget, right? You're going to need more call center agents. You're going to need more salespeople. You're going to need probably some more support staff. You're going to need more installers, right? You might need another service technician. You have to build that all out. But once you have your plan, EOS helps you manage that, right? So when we meet monthly, we look at the KPIs based on the targets. I meet with the staff monthly in the middle of the month just to make sure we're on track or off track. They meet weekly. That's just the way I do it. But it's to make sure that we're working the plan and we're hitting our targets, right?
Yeah. And one of the things about, I'm sure everybody does things a little bit differently. So you don't necessarily have to follow it to a T, but you can take a lot of good things out of it, even if you don't follow it to a T. And, one of the things that we do is, I meet with the leadership team weekly. And, one thing on there is the scorecard. We have a weekly scorecard where we've decided, ahead of time, these are the metrics, that are really important to be tracking to make sure that, we're proceeding along, with, reaching our goals. And if any of those metrics are off,
You're talking about KPIs?
Yeah, KPI. Yeah, essentially they're same thing. So
are you using the website 90? Is it like IO 90?
No.
Oh, well, there's a website where you plug in your targets, your KPIs, affiliated with EOS, and you just separate them by departments. Sales. Total number of appointments, closing rate, NSLI, GSLI, NSLI, revenue, sales revenue, cancellation. You can see finance. You can plug in whatever you want, and then when you go into your meeting with whoever it may be, with your staff, you can just look at the KPIs for the week, the month, and say, okay, that's on track, that's off track. If it's off track, let's drop it to the bottom, and then we identify, we discuss, we solve, right? If you're off track, I mean, it can track, I believe year to date, so you can go back and if you're off track for a couple of weeks, I mean, there's a great big flashlight shining on you, Mr. Sales Director, that you aren't hitting the targets. And again, when we budget for the next year, I mean, it's not like we're setting any crazy unrealistic targets. It's not like we're going to go from 5 million to 10 million this year. If we do, great, right? And we've had 80%, 100% growth before, but we're typically looking for 20, 25, 30%, depending on the forecast. And then we're also managing that too. So if we have a bad year, economy takes a turn, either way, we'll adjust those numbers after we have our quarterly meetings, right? So not only are we meeting monthly, we're doing the quarterly meetings. So we're looking at, okay, are these numbers realistic, right? For me, they always are. I don't want to hear, oh, we can't hit these numbers. First thing I look at is if we're not hitting those numbers, it's probably a problem with your staff. It's either a problem with management it's a problem with management, the people below him or her or him or her, right? Because we're typically looking, like I said, for 20, 25, 30% growth. We haven't had to deal with an economic issue for as long as I can remember. I mean, knock on wood here, it's been good. This has been a great industry. So yeah, you're just, like I said, you're managing those people. 90, you look at your KPIs. If it's off track, you drop it down, right? At the end of the meeting, what do you have? An hour to 45 minutes to identify, discuss, solve. And it's like, okay, let's figure it out. You can talk about it as a group. And then it can become a to-do, right? Because you have your to-dos, or it can become a rock, right? If it's a major project. So that's typically what we do. I like my staff to meet because I see the numbers every single day. I don't want to be the all-encompassing owner. I want them to figure some of these things out too. It's why I'm able to do a podcast with you every single Friday. I mean, work 8 to 10 hours a week and enjoy my hobbies, enjoy my life, enjoy my family, because I have good staff, right? And I'm willing to let them make some mistakes to learn. But they're pretty good now. They're pretty good. So I don't need to be in that meeting every single week, just once a month and quarterly.
Yeah. Talking about the scorecard and the IDS, it gives you a frame, like everyone's aligned. This is the framework. These are the numbers. You can't argue with the numbers. The numbers are what they are. If there's a problem, we drop it down, we IDS, right? So
those numbers, like I said, are set at the beginning of the year, right? So when you do your pro forma, right? What we do is what we're going to do this year, I learned from Brian Gottlieb, is we're probably going to go off-site 2 or 3 days, probably going to go, I don't know, I mean, maybe to my house up in PA, right? Kind of like a little hangout. Well, not really hangout, but like, light. Maybe we'll go to a hotel. I'm not exactly sure. We'll rent the conference room for 3 days locally, but we're going to get offsite so nobody can bother us. And then we're going to just say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do next year, right? We're going to discuss it. This is what the marketing department's going to do. This is what the sales. So everybody is agreeing to it, and we'll allow them to discuss it. We'll set our targets, right? So that when we're sitting next year in our EOS meeting in June, and if we're not on track, in the marketing department, I'll just say, well, we all agreed, we all discussed this back in December that these were going to be the numbers, right? So
yeah.
It's getting everybody within alignment, right?
Yeah.
And it's really what's helped. Now, again, talk about people. Sometimes the people that got you there aren't going to get you to the next level, right? So you might see that, and again, your EOS scorecard, it's going to show you that pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got 2 other topics to discuss around EOS. First one is, how do you get started, right? How do you get started with EOS if you're not using that, in your business today? And I mean, the first thing I would suggest is reading the book Traction by Gino Wickman. That talks all about the different processes.
That's a hard book to read. It's a hard book to process.
What the heck is EOS? Do you prefer that as a starter?
So I started with Traction, and it's a hard book, right? And I've had multiple people say that, or I've heard multiple people say that. So then there's the other book, What the Heck is EOS? That's an easier book. But there's his best book, I think, is Rocket Fuel. Were you aware of that book?
Yeah, no, I've read that one as well. But that one talks mostly about like the visionary and the integrator and the relationship there.
Yeah, your role, whether you're going to be the visionary or integrator within your business. Yes. But you should read all 3 books, yeah. And then you can hire what they call an implementer.
Yeah.
To help you set it up. It is not cheap, but it is well worth it. Right? I mean, they have a bunch of implementers, and I believe pretty much in every market.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, I hired Lindsay to be our senior director of people operations back in, I think it was May. And she actually came in with a lot of experience with EOS. And so we were,
you have to hire an implementer.
Yeah, we were really lucky. She was very skilled in that, and she's our implementer. If you don't have that, that I can't imagine doing this without bringing somebody in who is an expert. So
Tom, my marketing director, I mean, he's read all 3 books 5-6 times. So and there might be other books, but he helped us implement it through EOS. We did all the exercises in the book. He runs the meeting. I allow him to run the meeting, and it's worked for us. We just said, you know what? Tom's like, I don't know if we need to hire an implementer, although the rest of the group, the mastermind group, said you need to. Tom's like, I think I can set this up and we can run this, ourselves. I said, let's try it for 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we did, I believe 2 years ago, and it's worked well. It's what's allowed us to grow from 5 to, looks like we're going to be somewhere around 10 this year. So, yeah. Without the EOS system, I'd be muddling somewhere around the $5 million mark. There's no way I could have accomplished that.
And maybe pulling your hair out at the same time.
Well, and I'm already losing some of it. Look.
Well,
but again, I know companies, 50 million, 100 million, they're using EOS or some other system. They have a system for holding their executive team accountable. Now, also what's very important is it's not just from the executive level. You don't just have a level 10 meeting at the executive level. Each one of your directors or executives have a weekly meeting with their departments, right? So like Tom has a meeting on Thursdays for an hour with the call center manager. And it's the same structure. It's like, here's your scorecard, your KPIs. Here's the rocks that we're working on, right? Here's you to do. Let's identify, discuss, and solve if there's any issues, right? So that when he goes into the meeting on Monday, there's complete alignment within his department, right? Same thing with Brandon, the sales manager. He meets with his trainer. He's got different KPIs for that. He meets with his squad leaders, right? He meets with his staff every Friday. And he says, look, here's the KPIs. You're either on track or you're off track. If you're off track, let's find out why. Let's identify, discuss, and solve. It's in every single department. It's not just done at the executive level. It's filtered all the way down, even to the warehouse guy.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to talk about around this is culture. I remember talking to you a while back, and I think that was one of the things that you were really focused on and struggling with is how do we get the right culture in order to be able to scale the organization as well, which is something that EOS is also helpful. I mean, it helps you with setting your values and making sure that part of having the right person in the right seat is, are they exhibiting the company values? I don't think we've ever really dug into more about how that might have helped, from your perspective, putting things on the right track from a culture perspective. But maybe that's something that you can talk about a little bit.
I struggle with this so much, Johnny, because I'm just a, black and white guy. It's like, hey, this is what we have to do. Do your job. But it started with us really focusing on developing a mission and vision statement. So, and then, we put them up on posters, we hang them on the walls in every single department. And anytime there's an issue with a customer or an employee, we just look at the mission statement and the vision statement and we say, what do we need to do here? And that's what really helps build the culture. So before we hire somebody, we say, is this employee going to help, going to help us deliver an outstanding installation experience every single time, right? That's part of our mission statement. Are they going to contribute to us being the most friendly, revered, and referred window and door company in the industry, right? That's our vision statement, right? So, if we have an issue with a customer, that's, maybe a bit difficult to work with. We'd say, hey, did we really provide, an outstanding installation experience here? And if we didn't, we're deeply sorry. Let's make it right, whatever we need to do. So it's getting everybody to understand, at least as far, and again, I'm still developing. There are guys that are much better than this at me. Like Brian Gottlieb. I mean, oh my God. That guy, read his book, Beyond the Hammer, talks about it, right? Like I am still learning this. This, I think this is the thing that you really need to understand to really go beyond 10, right? Developing a culture within the organization, right? Where you can develop good people that are going to take you to that next level. Because, who wants to work for a company with a bad culture? The key is people. You want to keep them. You want to keep them happy. You got to develop a culture within your organization for your employees and for your customers, right? So read the book Beyond the Hammer. I'm still developing when it comes to this. This is difficult for me. Either I'm going to learn this and go to 50, 100 million, or I'm going to get stuck right here somewhere in the 10 to 12 $1 million range.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
What about your experience, John? I mean, it was culture at Build the Prime. You've hired quite a few employees. What's that like?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, we've been pretty lucky in terms of, hiring really, really good people. How long? It's a couple of years ago now. It was there were only six of us, and we went for our first company retreat. And we decided as part of that, it's like, oh, okay, there's a few of us now. We should probably talk about what our values are as a company. And we went through kind of an in-person. We're at that time where everybody was remote, like nobody was co-located anywhere. So we all got together in one place, and we had a brainstorm. And what are the traits? What are the types of behaviors that we think make up the culture at Builder Prime and what we want it to be? And I took all of those things and kind of melded it into three main values, and that's what we worked with for a good while, right? That was kind of our framework for, like, hey, this is how we operate, and if we're presented with a certain type of decision or problem or issue, we have to make sure that we are exhibiting those values. And actually, I feel like we did a pretty good job, right? That first time around, we actually did pretty well, just kind of figuring it out on our own. And, then bringing on EOS, and there's, a little bit more, framework around it, how to really do that effectively. And we've, revamped it just slightly. Like we tweaked it. We went from 3 to 4 values. We kind of reorganized things a little bit. But I think a lot of it really stayed very similar and stayed the same. But, it's part of, we put it on the website now, and it's there for anybody to go and see. So when we're looking to recruit somebody for a role, if those values are not something that they agree with or that resonates with them, hopefully that's going to help filter them out. But it's also things that they'll self-filter out. But it's something that we look for when we're interviewing, making sure that it's somebody that is going to uphold those values. And if not, and if somebody is not exhibiting those values, then that's part of the criteria. Like, hey, we don't have the right person here, and we have to make a change. So yeah, it's really important. I think like I said, I think we've been pretty lucky in terms of just getting great people on the team, and really haven't had many issues from that perspective. But as you grow, it gets more difficult. The more people and whatever kinds of communication the communication just gets more difficult. So having a process for even just for communication and making sure you're staying on the same page with everybody is really important from a culture perspective too. So it's been interesting.
I think this is becoming a good leader, right? Is not a good leader, a great leader, is really focusing on the culture, right? It's being the person that can stand up in front of the group and say, hey guys, this is where we're going, and get them to buy into that message and get on board, right? This is something that, like I said, admittedly, I need to work on, because it's like, hey, I pay you a great salary to be here, pay you every single week. It's just, do your job, right? Again, still learning, highly recommend BG, Brian Gottlieb. Read that book, man, Beyond the Hammer, that talks about it. I know I gave it out to, I purchased a bunch of them, gave it out to a bunch of my employees that wanted to read it. I know Tom's read it like 3 times. Tom was totally inspired by the book, my marketing director. I've listened to it here and there. I haven't completed it. And Tom is telling me, oh, we're going to do this and that, and here's why, because Brian. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Another great book too is Charlie Gandell's Lessons Learned.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now he's just come out with a second one, right? You got to read these books for, guys that have been there, at the top. These guys, both of them have sold their businesses, highly successful. So many great lessons to learn. But like I said, you said you had one more thing you wanted to talk about EOS. So it was culture.
No, it was implementation and it was culture. So I think we did that. Maybe we just touch real quick on tech stack, because that's something that we haven't really talked about too much yet. So, the evolution of the tech stack as you go to this next level.
No offense there, John, but I look at my P&L every single month and I'm like, I'm spending how much on, not on Build a Prime, but like this and that.
Yeah.
Tech stack, it's wow. Oh, I should have my P&L ready for this. Jesus, there's probably a dozen marketing pieces in there, along with a bunch of sales software, Engage, Leap, Vendo, all the sales and estimating software. John, I can't keep track of it all. What I know, I want to take it all and whittle it down and build a prime. You need to start integrating, building these features in, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me some money. I mean, what have you seen? I mean, the tech stack is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see too many things changing at this point. There's I think a little bit more sophistication in terms of the lead aggregators and like bringing in something like an active prospect that's going to kind of sit in front. Then what else? I mean, I don't see it changing, all that much at this level.
I don't think my tech stack really changed much from the 2 to 5 till now. 5. I may have added a few. It's a lot. I mean, I'm working with Active Prospect. I'm working with Engage. I'm working with Leap, which is now Sales Pro. I'm working with you, Build a Prime, Company Cam. I mean, Get the Referral, GTR. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, I have to build out like a report for the tech stack that we're currently using. And again, look, they're all necessary, right? We need them, right? But we're also becoming more sophisticated on our end too with like the reporting. Like Build a Prime does a great job on running reports and stuff like that. But we like to do some stuff internally, pull it from Build a Prime. I believe it's a webhook. Tom called it, right? We can get webhooks where we can pull the data out.
Well, yeah, we can webhook the data out, or you can pull it
into, customized reports. Like, we start looking at a salesperson's performance based on lead source, on product type, right? And we build out completely custom reports outside of Build a Prime. And you have great reporting, but there's some things that we want to just look at, a few layers deeper, to help us just make better decisions on the marketing and the sales side, right? So we become more sophisticated with that, with reports and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just getting better. We're just growing. We're focusing on what's important, what's not. Like what I've discovered this year, I hope this is helpful. And I know I've spoken to a few people about this on the sales side, and some disagree, but for me it works. Is just have your managers focus on the one thing with their staff, right? So like when Brandon, my sales director, goes into his weekly level 10 meeting with the sales staff, he talks about NSLI, so net sales per lead issue, because we want them to just focus on the most important KPI, right? For me in the business, which is NSLI, right? Now, Brandon has a report that gives the closing rate, the demo rate, the average sale and all of that. But when he goes into a meeting, he just focuses on NSLI with his staff, and he holds them accountable to that number. This is the NSLI you need to reach over a 30-day period. So he looks at a 7-day, which is a trend, who's hot, who's not. He distributes leads based on the 30-day NSLI. And now NSLI per lead source, 30-day NSLI per lead source, and 30-day NSLI per product type. So when he's distributing leads, he's looking at all of this data, and it's helped improve the consistency in our sales department. So, and then he holds them accountable to the 90 on the overall report. So if one of our sales reps falls below the MAG, the minimum acceptable goal on the NSLI, he has a choice to make. He has a choice to either part ways as friends or go back into a retraining with a new class, right? So, but it's NSLI. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
It's focusing in on the one number that's most important. On the marketing side, believe it or not, Tom and I, when I talk to him, we talk about demos. Tom, I need this many demos this month to produce this much in sales. I don't care about all of the, raw leads you got and the appointments that set and, the leads that issued. I care about the moment when the sales rep goes there and he can demo the product, right? Tom, I want 100 demos. Do what you need to do with all those other numbers to get me 100 demos. And then if he's off track, then we go look at those numbers. Well, even when he's on track, he's managing, he's trying to exceed that, but he knows those are the levers he can pull to get more demos. But I only want to talk about demos because I know if I get 100 demos and I've got a 33% closing rate, I'm going to sell 33 jobs, at, so I'm just using round numbers, at 10,000, I'm going to do $330,000 this month if that's my budget, right? If I need more, then I need more demos. I need more sales. So it's focusing in on the one KPI that's most important with your staff. So when Tom goes in and talks to the call center manager wants to be like, oh, look at all these leads I'm hanging up on the board. Yeah, that's great. It's great, but how many demos did we have yesterday? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. We have some different terminology, when it comes to, the software world, but same deal, right? On the marketing side, we're looking at how many demos, we call it a demo too. So how many demos are we getting?
Yeah. It's, this many demos based on this closing rate, and you can have all this historical data is going to lead to this much in sales, right? And for you, I guess it's what, MRR, monthly recurring revenue. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Monthly MRR, is that the term?
MRR, that's it. Yeah.
Look at that. I totally just guessed that. I pulled that out of thin air.
Did you really? Yeah, you got it.
All businesses are the same. We have KPIs, right?
Yeah.
It's just focusing on what's most important. Right. So when we reverse engineer the plan, we look at all the data, but I want to talk to Tom about demos, and I want to talk to Brandon about NSLI. Right.
All right. So
yeah, we're an hour in.
We covered a lot. That was great.
We're going to start to bring on some guests now because again, I can't speak beyond the 10 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to bring on you and I know a bunch of people within the industry, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start to bring on some guests to talk to them about their journey. Some guests are going to be in the, maybe the sub $1 million range. And some are going to be, 150 million, right? And we're going to bring on guests. We may bring on a guy that's like at 150 million a couple times to talk about his journey, very specifically through the levels and how he or she accomplished that. Correct?
Yeah. And we met also some people that have worked with those people. Maybe that they're not doing it themselves, but they're working with all of these other companies to accomplish these different milestones as well. So
experienced people within the industry.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. Well, that was great. Thanks a lot, John. We'll be back again next time.
Yes, brother. See you on the next one.
All right. See ya.